put it as a lamppost and leave your kid out.
Oh my god.
No.
So, should we get going?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
kick off. Cool.
The B-side word, just a group of friends from around the world discussing the most recent second page news.
I apologise. I actually have a cold. I was hoping it would be gone, but it's not. So if I walk away.
Trooper.
So the first one I only just actually had a look at before we came online. That was another one that Dev found. So there was a couple in America who wanted to trial Tinder, but on the real life stage. So they set up a fake Tinder account, and I think they asked about it was actually a girl's profile, but this guy was helping her. They asked about 7,500 men to come to this location to go on a date. So all the men turn up, but there's no date. She actually makes them start competing in real life. I'm talking like doing press ups, running, and then finally picks the person that she's going to go on a date with. There was backlash from some of the men. Like, I think one guy took her mic.
Excuse me, this shit you just did right here, pulled a stunt on all these men who had stuff to do, it's f***ed up. You know it's f***ed up.
All right, I want to jump in real quick. So, I know about the story, and the way I know about it is hilarious. So, okay, I don't know if any of you guys are on Twitter like that, but I was on Twitter, and they had the threads on there, and this tweet was on there, and it had been retweeted a few times, and it said, "Boy, have I got a story for you about this date I went on." And I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And it's this thread about this guy saying, "I was on Tinder and I matched this girl, and we're talking a little bit back and forth, and then it got to the point where she was like, do you want to just have my number and we can text?" He's like, "Okay." So now they're texting back and forth, and then she's like, "You know what? I'm really busy right now. I've got to study for this exam. I'll text you back in like 2 to 3 weeks when I'm done, okay?" And he thought it was just like a really elaborate way for her to say, "I'm not interested." He was like, "All right, yeah, cool, whatever." Left it. And then 2 to 3 weeks later, he got this text back saying, "Hey, I've finally done, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you want to meet up? My friend's DJing in the city. We can meet up there and then we can go for drinks or something." He's like, all right. He was a bit skeptical, but he's like, "Okay, I wasn't expecting you to text back, so all right." And then he went out there and he said, he went and stayed away from it, but saw that there was a stage set up, and he was like, "Oh, okay, fair enough. Like, it's not like a hoax. There's actually a DJ there or whatever." And she said to him to stand by the speaker. So he went and he said he wasn't going to stand right next to the speaker because he wanted to make sure this was real, that this girl was real. And so he stood off from the speaker. And then he said he saw the girl come up with what looked like security, and he was like confused in that. And then she got on stage and grabbed the mic, and he was really confused at this point. And then this is when the story kicked off. Every person there was there thinking the same as him.
Like, apparently they were all stood there just really awkwardly at first, like, what's going on?
Did they all have to try and stand by the speaker as well?
Look at the actual video, and there are like 1,000 people
There's a lot of
around the
people,
stage.
yeah.
1,000 turned up.
Wow.
And they say, so they say that. So I saw that was my first entrance into the story, and then I've heard it reported since. And they talked about how when she first announced what happened, a lot of the guys just left right there and then. But then a lot of guys, as you can see in the video, stayed. And like when she started doing the competitions, they were competing for it. And that's just, I don't know. To me, it's an interesting social experiment. I'll give her that.
It actually, it kind of just shows what's actually really happening. Like, I think the one person said that the reason that they did it was because today it's just socially acceptable, just to get rid of people based off of their height, based off of their whatever. You just swipe, not interested. So they brought them to the place and did it in real life, you know.
There's no difference. There's no difference
can you
in the club. There is no difference than being in the club. How many times you just walk through the club and go, nope, 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 nope. Yep. This way, it just accelerates everything. That's all it's done.
Yeah.
I think where people had an issue was the fact that she had brought all these men there, and then immediately was like,
"Anyone under 5'10", please leave as well. No beer bellies, no long beards, khakis, or is any less than 6 inches, you gotta go. You gotta go. Also, anyone named Jimmy. I don't...
So you're telling me at the beginning, like, she was just doing it based on what they look like and their history of partners and stuff, and then after that, it was like, okay, now it's competition to test your physical ability.
Yeah.
Do they ever get like? Do they have like a maths test or something, or is it only physical stuff at this point? Like, how deep do we go?
I think it was only physical.
Oh, was it? What's that?
I don't think she picked the winner. I think she picked the person that came second.
No. Oh, no, she had 3 people lining up, and then she goes, I'll choose number 2.
Yeah.
So I think it was out of, like, a few, and then she chose one of them. They went on a date, and it didn't work out.
Right.
But apparently, a lot of the guys that were, like, angry at her are still in her DMs, still trying to go on a date with her. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's trouble. I mean, I can imagine turning up and being like, okay, this girl's out of her mind, but then as soon as the competition's in front of me, I'm like, oh, okay, actually, I reckon I could beat him in a race. And then I'll win it. I'm like, oh, I didn't want to win this. Oh, my gosh. I mean, it's a bit of a kick in the manhood to think, maybe before he's preparing himself, oh, yeah, I'm so good, I got this pretty girl, and you turn up, and there's 1,000 other guys all at the mercy of this one girl. Like, it's going to just feel so... I mean... Yeah, it's not nice, is it? It's not a nice feeling, surely. But
if it took that long, like the whole setup, assuming that some people were being strung along for longer than others, there are some guys there that may have passed up the opportunity for a legitimate relationship, thinking what they had was the potential with this girl.
Maybe.
Yeah. Those people probably would have been angry. I would have been angry if they strung me on for 2 years. But after 2 years, not meeting the person, I would have been like, all right, see ya.
Catfish.
Yeah.
Social experiments, just social experiments in general. Yay or nay? Are they needed?
I like them within certain parameters. There's a lot that go too far, but I do like them in because sometimes there's stuff that will just wake you up because you realise you would probably do the same and get caught out by doing it. Have you seen the ones? I don't know if you call it a social experiment though. Who's that? There was a channel on one of the it's British TV though, and they go out and they just try and rob from people, just normal everyday people. So they'll go in to a bank with their security van, for example, and just pretend they're there to take the money, and then the people behind it just think it's so legit that they just sort of hand over money and they just walk away with £500,000 or something. And they're showing how easy it is for people to go and do that to just in the real world. So if you call that a social experiment, I do like those sort of things. But then when it's, if it's taken that much of somebody else's life where they've been talking to a woman for a year maybe, then yeah, I think that's gone too far, isn't it? There's some limits needed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it depends on the effect on. I think it depends on the effect on the individuals who are being experimented on. If at the end of the day it's a no harm, no foul, then yeah, great. If it can have a long-term emotional, psychological, anything like that, then it's a bit of a...
Yeah.
That could have been the most beautiful girl that those guys have ever had a chance with. So they're winning in their head. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Finally. Look how amazing she is. They'd probably told, all their mates and stuff, look at this girl, blah, blah, blah. So it just is a hit to the ego.
No, it really is. That really is. Especially if you told your friends.
And they would have.
If I told my friends, they would kill me.
The second article, I'm just going to read the headline. And then you can sort of think what you think about it. Okay, so the headline is, Police Union offers $500 reward for people who take down suspect.
$500?
Yeah.
Keep it.
$500 reward for people that take down suspects?
Yeah.
What do you mean by take down a suspect?
Just take down. $500. Get up. I would never 500.
Basically, a police union, this is in the States, a police union wants to turn random bystanders into vigilantes for hire. So basically, they're offering $500 to any civilian who helps cops wrestle down suspects who are resisting arrest. So instead of people just videoing on their phones what's happening, they're saying, the union is saying they would offer a reward instead of standing there doing nothing, actually helping the police officers arrest.
They're not trained.
Yeah, they're just civilian.
No, but they're not trained. How can you encourage people who are not trained to physically manhandle? That's assault. You get arrested for that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're trying to get it through. So basically, they are trying to change the laws so that you wouldn't get into trouble.
Wait. So on suspicion, you go, he's a bad guy, I thought, and you just hit him.
Well, from my understanding, this is when they're being the cops are already trying to arrest someone, right?
Yeah.
So they can't do it
They're
themselves.
struggling with the person, but instead of bystanders just watching or videoing, whatever, it's like, help me, would ya?
Lay a boot
They
in.
help, and they get $500.
Yeah, all right.
And they get $500 for doing it as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just trying to change the law so people that do try and help no longer get in trouble. It's actually trying to encourage people to actively get involved.
Yeah. And basically, the state senator, Martin Golden, who's a retired cop, is trying to introduce a new Good Samaritan law to shield those civilians that help from liability if something happens.
Wow,
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
So that, all right, imagine two cops wrestling one big guy down, and they're struggling, and then 20 bystanders all jump in. Are you paying them all £500 or $500? How do they determine what help is and what's not? And
I think they're sort of still trying to draft that up. But apparently, if you've actually shown that you've helped, you would get the reward. This is only the police union that's wanting to do this. So the NYPD put out a statement actually saying, they said the NYPD encourages people to support their cops by calling 911. The department doesn't want to see people put in harm's way unnecessarily to collect a reward. So it's the union that's trying to put this in place, not actually the police departments, by the sounds of it.
Which state is it? It just sounds ridiculous on so many levels, to be honest. It's just...
So you need someone to videotape you helping the coppers to have evidence. Like...
Could we not set it up so I do a minor petty theft, and then when someone takes me down, I resist, and then one of you guys can step in and help, and then we just split the $500? Can we do that? It's just having everybody just starting to get arrested for the tiniest things all the time, resisting, screaming in cops' face just so they can get a $500 reward.
This is in New York.
It just seems it's really irresponsible, actually, and the fact that we just have to assume now that police officers are always right in the fact they could arrest your friend. And you're thinking, I'm going to take $500 reward, even though we know he's innocent because we've actually seen it. Because often police officers come late to the scene because they've been called or something, and they might be arresting the wrong people, and all of a sudden we need to help them. I've seen more often the other way around where people are trying to wrestle the police officer off somebody getting arrested because they know the person's innocent.
And can we also talk about this? This is in America, we already know that the person being arrested has a chance of being shot. I'm not trying to get in the way of that, especially if they're resisting arrest.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't even think about that.
Imagine if a police officer shot you whilst you're helping them.
Oh my god!
So you get compo plus the 500.
Yeah,
it's a bonus.
Plus the 500, and then with interest for the amount of time you just sit in hospital as well. I hope.
To answer your earlier question, AJ, basically they said they didn't give many details about what would constitute enough help to warrant a reward, although the union noted that grabbing and holding a suspect whom the cops are chasing would qualify.
I think it's entirely what Maxie said. I think it's a way of them making people believe that authority is always right. Yeah. Because it would, even though it's not a direct... oh, we're definitely right, you have to help us. That would be the impact, is your actions would align with the cops' actions. And at the end of the day, right now, in America especially, the trust for police force is not very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. How else can we control people with money? Let's pay them to arrest anyone we want them to.
This social justice group did say it just encourages vigilantism and continues to promote lawlessness with an already unaccountable police department, which is so true as well.
Man, just a bunch of Batmans running around.
What are you looking at?
No, I'm just thinking about it. If that law came to pass.
Talking about Batman, imagine if there was a Batman, like in real life, like some guy that's just going around and doing shit. Is that? Would you really?
There was
want
one
that?
in there was one in southwest England. A guy that dressed up as a superhero and he used to run around, but he used to do things like fix people's roofs as well.
Yeah. I definitely feel like if there was a real life Batman running around, most people would hate, distrust. He would probably get shot.
The thing is, you have a superhero. The only work they have like a supervillain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise they're just picking on the public. And no one likes that. That's bullying. He'll be taking all the $500 rewards, wouldn't he? Like, that was my one.
Oh my god.
You bet.
That's crazy.
And they always cause so much damage as well, like to structure.
Yes.
That was the thing, like, yeah, with Superman. Like, Superman, hands down, my favorite superhero, but at the same time, like, he used to cause millions and millions of damage. Your city would just be this barren landscape all the time.
Would be no crime.
Just watching them two, the superhero and the supervillain, and you're like, what are they doing? What are you doing? You were created to fight each other. What are you? Go away.
Oh man, work. Oh, no, I don't know. I can't find the UK one. It was funny though. Yeah, there was like news channels that used to interview him, and then there was like this old woman shouting his praises as well. It was
What?
But he basically like ran in the video that they, if I remember correctly, he was like running down the street doing like karate moves, proving that he was strong. But then all the crimes that he solved involved no karate moves at all. They were just,
Oh my god!
Painted over some graffiti and then karate chopped the wall and ran away.
Too much.
God, I love it.
Okay, so a poll in Britain showed that 1 in 4 Brits think that robots would do a better job than politicians.
Does that say more about robots or politicians?
Wow. Yeah.
Are we starting to trust robots, or are we just really distrusting politicians
I
now?
think you're really distrusting politicians.
Can I just say something? Because like this is funny that you said this, but in Australia we have a new prime minister. We have a
Again.
new prime
Again.
The 9th one
Yeah.
in. What did someone say? His kid is 10 years old and he's seen 9 prime ministers.
That's.
But it's
Wow.
not just they don't. None of them get to the end of their term. They just keep ousting each other.
I think that's what people are getting the craps over. We elected someone, and then they've said, "No, we're going to go into this room now and get someone that we like to run the country."
It's just a major general distrust in all politicians, I think. In Tokyo, they have a robot actually running to be mayor.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Legit.
So is
So
that
they've
robot
got-
like
they've
a
got
class
all
as
the-
a citizen, or?
I don't know if they're classed
That's a
as
good point.
citizen. That's a
Where's
really
his,
good
where's his birth
question.
certificate? Has he got a birth
Where
certificate?
is the
No, there
birth
is
certificate?
that you know that woman robot,
Yeah.
the one where they always use the
Yeah.
face. She's classed as a citizen somewhere. I can't remember where it was,
Is going to be the first Saudi citizenship for a robot.
but they gave her citizenship.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
basically, this AI is running for mayor of Tana City. They've got all the different candidates' pictures up on the wall, and then the robot's picture on the wall. Like, and this is legitimately
Wait,
happening.
so is the person that's actually running this simulation? He's just said, "I'm going to stuff up this world, and I'm going to put a robot to run a little town in Tokyo." You know, like Sims. You know the game Sims.
Oh,
you're talking simulation theory.
They just put this character. Said, "Right, let's see how this pans out."
Let's see how they react to that.
Okay. Sorry, I clued on. You're talking about the simulation that we live in.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
They're over us.
Ding 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 ding. Ding ding.
So you know this robot in Tokyo. I don't know if you know any of this. Is this supposed to be an artificial intelligence, or is someone just running this robot?
No, it's an AI,
So this robot is making complete decisions. It's autonomous, doing everything by itself.
I believe so. I guess so because they've called it an AI. So, with the birth of an AI mayor, they're basically hoping to accumulate information and know-how, and just lead the next generation impartially.
Scary.
It does sound very scary. But I think
It
it's
is really scary. It's really
quite
scary.
A good, it's quite a good like metaphor or of how politicians run nowadays anyway, if you know what I mean, where we vote for a politician, but he's his own little AI, but it's actually people in the background feeding him information and running the country, you know?
Yeah.
Like we look at this phase, so when you have a robot, it's probably going to be the same. Like we see this robot making the decisions, but really, even if it is AI, we choose what information the AI receives and what it's, so if we just feed it, you know, information from one side only, then it makes very capitalist decision. If we feed it like only how good, you know, maybe the poverty line is based on these, then he'll only make like socialist kind of decisions. So
that's true. However, it's so scary how quickly the AI
adapts.
Actually adapts. There was a test done. Where was this? I can't remember where it was. It was done by Google, and they had 2 AIs, and they were trying to communicate with these AIs, and they thought, let's see what happens if we try and get the AIs to communicate with each other. So they had the AIs start to communicate with each other, and very quickly what happened was they made up their own language.
Yeah.
So they literally autonomously made up their own language. No one else knew what they were talking about. Google ended up forcefully just shutting down the program. They said, "Oh, you know, well, that's what's the point in having AI we don't even know, like, that are going to, you know, learn a new language, whatever." But realistically, it was probably because they're scared.
That's scary.
If they can do that so quickly, just formulate their own language. Do you know what I mean?
Was it
so they talk
Facebook?
about...
I think it was Google. Was it Facebook?
There's one here that says Facebook shut down AI experiments because chatbots developed their own language.
That's
I think it was
Facebook. Facebook. Apologies.
But
So they talk about, when you're talking about AI, and this is like when I said is AI and that, because when I'm probably going to butcher the numbers, but the general idea is the singularity, the event where they say AI has the autonomy and the intelligence level of us as humans. That moment that we reach that, the level they process at is so significant that then in 1 week past that, they will be 1,000 years more intelligent than us.
And they think that they will actually run 1 million times faster than us.
Right.
Yeah,
So in 1 week, they're 1,000 times more, 1,000 years more advanced in intellect. What, like, their decision making is not going to be anything to do with us. Like, it's not going to be in our benefit. It's not going to help us. Having them running a country, I'm good.
Well, who was it that said, wasn't it Elon Musk that brought up, I don't know if it was Elon, someone was saying they were comparing it, they used the metaphor of the anthill. Have you guys heard that?
Yeah, Elon does.
I think it's
Not
Elon,
that
yeah.
one.
So
Not that one.
he basically says, look, it's not, robots of the future may not hate us, but they'll be impartial to us. We don't really mean much to them. Think of us with an anthill. If we're going to build a new motorway and there's an anthill, we don't hate ants, but we're going to get rid of that anthill because we need to do what we need to do. And that's what the AIs of the future would probably look up. They might not hate us, but if we're in their way for something, just get rid of that. They don't matter. That's what's scary.
It is scary. I mean,
to be intelligent enough, like he uses the intelligence differential as well. Like, even if you wanted to, you could not explain to an anthill why you're doing what you're doing. You would just do it.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't even understand what's going on. We wouldn't know.
Pets. I like to think we're more on the dog level there. We'll be the pets of the AI. We're the most, we're quite intelligent, so they like us a little bit.
As long as
just
they're
keep us in the house.
Yeah. But, it's, especially if politicians become AIs. If AIs become politicians.
Yeah.
And then what's really scary is military.
It's already there.
That's already scary.
Are we already there with military?
We are in some respects, but I'm talking more like death robots.
Decision making. Yeah. What was it they said? The same thing. So I think they were talking about this with the 2 Facebook robots. They're saying if these robots communicate like that with their own language or whatever, they could also press the nuke buttons and we wouldn't even know. Like they could communicate to each other and we would only know when we see these nukes flying overhead. Like, what is going on?
Oh,
yeah.
That's scary. Yeah.
And are
we scared because we're thinking something superior is going to be? What do we like? Someone's taking the control away from us.
My biggest fear is that because obviously the idea being that AI, right? You can set parameters. They're robots, so you can say like you think as freely as you want, but inside these like parameters we set up. But there's one they made a robot before, and they tried to set up a parameter and said basically what we want you to do is predict the weather, and we give you all the information we know about and try and predict the weather, like to see if they get it more accurate over time. And what they did to measure how accurate they were, they took their prediction and then sort of compared it with the actual weather forecast, like in the future. So if it was like 10 away, that's better than being 100 away, maybe in, I don't know, moisture or something, just random metrics. But what the computer did instead was, opposed to like trying to guess, it just started guessing 0, and then it managed to get into the system and delete the future. Like when the weather forecast comes in, it automatically deletes it. So 0 and 0 equals 0, which means they're perfect every single time. So when we talk about in war, for example, there might be like, let's try and save as many citizens as possible. That's what we think we've told it. But its language might then say, oh, to get this metric that we're being measured by to 0, if I just kill all humans, then I win the game, And we don't know for sure when they become artificially intelligent. We don't know for sure what they're actually thinking. That's the really scary part.
Death is what we're scared of.
So even though we can control them, if we give them the freedom to think, we don't know we don't know what their goal. Well, we know what their goal is, but we don't know how they're going to get.
How they interpret that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this last story, or second to last, we'll see how we go. This was probably a bit quicker, actually. So basically, a soccer club writes a lovely letter to a depressed fan after seeing social media comments take a turn. So Barnsley Soccer Club, football club in England. It's a small local club.
Are they small?
They're not that small. No, they're not that small.
They're in the second. They're a big team. They got a lot of fans.
Are they in Division 2?
Yeah, which is a lot of money there.
Yeah.
So they'll have like thousands of people watch every week.
Okay, so Barnsley Football Club in England are being hailed for reaching out to one of their loyal fans after they noticed that his social media presence had taken a concerning turn. So basically, the guy was a lifelong fan and really present on social media, Twitter, and suffers depression, that I guess was making comments on there, and the actual manager or CEO of the club reached out to him. I think his name is Gautier Ganay. reached out to him after seeing the tweets and wrote him a letter basically saying that their office door is always open, and that the league, would love to return, the team would love to return the favor for his loyalty as a fan, which is so nice. I think that's absolutely lovely.
No, I agree. I really agree. Is it?
AJ, you're the one that sent this one. Where's your comment?
So basically, like, when I looked at this, first of all, I like good news. I thought it was kind of an interesting one because, so being someone who's trying to run my own business and that, something that I've learned a lot is the idea that people nowadays prefer the people in business rather than the business. And thinking of football club and that, what he did was an extremely personable action, and just how we receive types of things as a society, and how obviously social media, like, if you're a business, how much do you have to pay attention to your customer? Like, that's quite a significant amount of attention to pay to someone when, as you said, like, Barnsley's not a small club. Like, they've got enough people that wouldn't have been, like, you would have had to have looked for that to know that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have just been staring you in the face.
I wonder if someone posts, that's a question then, isn't it? If someone posts enough about a football team, do they even come up on their radar normally?
I know, that's so true.
Because at the end of the day, any business is their customers, but football teams even more so, or sports, where like the team as a business is just their fans. So do they pay attention to their fans, or is it,
They must do. Well, this guy does. He literally said, I've noticed through social media that you've had a bit of a hard time recently. I'm not sure what it is, but I hope everything improves for you as soon as possible. You've been a fan of the club for many years and always supported us, so we want you to know that if the favour needs returning and we need to support you, please do let us know. You're welcome to swing by any time. Our office door is always open. And we've finally got a new coffee machine.
What? That's what you said at the end? Oh. I thought I was a sidetrack. You and Tim got a new coffee machine.
Can I just say, because I'm a tradie and just the atmosphere, I guess, at the trade is to give each other, like, it's banter. It's a lot of banter, and it's usually just hacking crap on each other, right? And for the last week or so, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and a lot of it's starting to change the way I think, and I've tried to implement some of that into at my work. Whereas there was one, I think it was Carl Fussman. I was listening, and there was a guest on there, Soul Cycle, and she said that her motto was to be the better. What is it? The better part of someone's day, right? And that stuck with me heaps, right? So every time someone did something good, I said, good on ya or something, right? I go, yeah, good job, right? And everyone started looking at me weird, like, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? I'm going, I'm just saying, you did a good job, like, well done. They go, stop. Like, they literally told me to stop with all this positive, and I went, no, man, you just got to get used to accepting positive vibes, And they're like, you're not eating with us at lunchtime. You sit in the truck. There's no need for that. Because they thought I was taking the piss, and I was genuinely trying to implement something new, and it's just no. Bring back the old Ernie. I want you to hack crap. Because that's the norm. That is
mental health issues are becoming a much more talked about thing.
Yeah.
Basketball, NBA, for those if you follow it, currently, and mental health issues are a huge talking point in the NBA right now. A lot of athletes coming out and talking about their struggles, just because I'm a millionaire, whatever. Like, that doesn't take away from the fact that I do suffer with these mental issues and that. So I just find, like, that landscape interesting as well, the fact that this is being talked about. And I know, like, in cultures it's very different as well. So they talk about the black community is something that it's really not discussed person to person, and they're trying to encourage it more because there's a lot of particular black males who suffer with mental health issues, and they never seek treatment for it. It's just not encouraged within the culture. But I just find this landscape very interesting. The fact that this is becoming, and I hope it's not just a passing thing.
The stigma is totally being removed. Totally being removed. Like, they've fought hard to remove this stigma. It's been quite a few years, but yeah, here, obviously over there in America, there's all these "Are you okay?" days, and it's massive. In companies, they'll ask, "Are you okay?" It's just everywhere. And like you said, the NBA, Marcus Morris, what's his name? Marcus. Yeah, he came out and was talking about his. Charlemagne talks about his all the time, how he sees a therapist. So it's just one of those things now where people are trying to reach out if they see anything wrong.
You just made me thought. I have a question for the group. You talked about "Are you okay?" days. So something they talk about in mental health is, should you be able to take a day off, so work or school, for mental health?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I think.
How
Totally.
do you manage or regulate
I think
that?
mental health. I don't see mental health as being anything different to, or anything different to physical health. If you're mentally ill, it's an actual illness. You should be able to get a sick note from your doctor, your psychologist. If you have anxiety, I know there's people at work with anxiety. They've had months off.
But what's the sense that we trust the most as humans? Visual. Physical illness, you can see. Mental illness, you cannot see.
100%.
So on that, from a regulation standpoint, how do you prevent people from, I need this day off for mental health, and they're just taking the day off?
I think it's a case of, in the same way, if you're sick, when they can't see you, call them and say you're sick. If you have so many off, then you have to go see a doctor and say, is this actually a real thing? So if I have 2 or 3 mental illness days off a year, my company should just respect, in my opinion, they should just respect that and say, okay, they've got something going on there. And also the fact, when somebody says they got something going on there, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with them and they're going to be bad at their job for the rest of the year. It's just like everyone has those days. So when they have that, if it happens a lot, then you have to say, okay, there's an issue that's really there. Now you need to go and see some professional help or something else. Like a question, how many physical different types of exercises do you know to make yourself physically stronger, and how many mental exercises do you know which are just it's just not a thing. No one goes to a mental gym to any time to try and think, how can I make my brain stronger? To get clever is one thing, but how do I make my brain stronger emotionally and everything else? It just doesn't happen in the norm.
I've had a light bulb moment. Business opportunity. Mental gym.
They have them on your smartphone.
Yeah, they got the apps already.
The apps, yeah.
We want people physically here. Come to the mental gym.